Hello, BookTube. I was cuddling with my little bean first thing this morning. She's right here. I don't know if I'm going to be able to make her out. She's buried. Her huge butt is next to me because I'm boiling warm, and the rest of her is ensconced in blankets and pillows. So I guess it must be chilly here. But we were cuddling this morning when I had a sudden realization. I realized I read all night long, and I read all morning long, because she had no desire to get up at all. She's not a morning person. Every time I suggested, she just buried her head deeper in the covers. So I read all night long, and I read all morning long, and I read all day yesterday. And this morning, when we were cuddling, I was trying to cuddle her awake. I was trying to cuddle her into mobility to kind of try and get her to move. I had a realization. I realized that the last 10 books that I have read have been electronically. The last 10 books I've read have been on the little blue Kindle. 10 in a row. Including ones that I started to read in analog form, in print and paper form. I picked them up, sometimes off the new bookshelf over there on the other side of the room, as the next new book that I was going to read. I started them that way and thought, didn't the publisher send me a PDF of this thing? Didn't they do that? And they did, sure enough. So I would stop. I would put the big biography of Goethe or the big history of the Romans. I'd put that back on the shelf and call up the PDF. Now, the first time I did that was, there's a big 1,000-page book on the Romans by Ed Watts. Not my Ed Watts, but a different Ed Watts. And I thought, didn't the publisher send you a PDF of this? I thought, sure they did. And they did. So I found it in my emailed it to my Kindle address, just email it to your Kindle address directly, and it shows up there. But it was one of those fussy PDFs, so the print was too small, and when the print is too small, you have to increase it every page. You can't just tell it to have a bigger print. You have to increase it every time you change the page. And also, the maps were totally unworkable. So I took the PDF file that I sent to my Kindle, went online, found a free conversion site, converted it to EPUB, and there you go, no problem anymore. And then I sent that to the little blue Kindle. And that was new books, that was workbooks, because despite what this horrible saucy rumor that's been going around, I'm not retired. Okay? Workbooks, they're all electronic. And also books for fun. Books that I am rereading for fun. Or even reading for fun. Stuff that I've never read before, like, for instance, from Kindle Unlimited, where those are electronically self-published books that I've never heard of before. Regardless of what it was, in other words, regardless of what kind of book it was, I read 10 in a row on this book. And it's not that I wasn't ever tempted by print and paper books. It was that sometimes I actually had my hand on a print and paper book and thought, nah, I'd rather not wrestle with this thing if I can just send an electronic version to my Kindle, and then did. And that made me want to talk about the Kindle just a little. It's been a while since I made an e-reader video. So I thought I would make a quick video singing the praises of this little plastic device. This is a blue Kindle Paperwhite. Sorry. Well, as you can see, I need to wipe this down with an alcohol wipe. But this is a blue Kindle Paperwhite. It's relatively modern. I think this is like the 11th generation, so it's relatively modern. It's nice size, fits in the hand. You learn quickly. The design here is that the power port and the power button are on the bottom, right next to each other, and there are no other interruptions in the frame of the device. None. It's just those two there. And there would only be one if this were wireless charging. And I think the goal here is for this to have no impediments anywhere on any edge. And in pursuit of that goal, of course, the Kindle designers have made a huge mistake, because you hold this thing right there. So many people have reported, I myself have experienced countless times, where you are holding this thing and you are reading, you shift it just a tiny bit, and the palm of your hand hits the power button and turns it off. I have found that with very little self-training, very little, considering this is brand new technology, considering that 30 years ago this didn't exist at all, with very little self-training, you can learn how to hold one of these things without that being an issue. Or you could put it in a case, but I like it that it's little and blue, so I don't put it in a case. That's all that this thing has. It's just that. And then you've got just this easy device. And I love it. So I wanted to talk about it just a bit, to sing its praises, in case you might be on the fence about whether or not to get an e-reader. It doesn't have to be a Kindle. Kindle is the market leader in the Western Hemisphere, but there are lots of others. And of course, Kindle has its downsides. One downside in particular, which is that it's an Amazon product, and Amazon is an active participant in the fall of my country to fascism. The owner and CEO of Amazon wants kings in this country. They don't want representative democracy. They don't want me to be a free person. And that's a pretty big negative. That's a pretty big negative. Also, Amazon is famous for its ruthlessly unethical, monopolistic practices in the book market. Nevertheless, Kindles are everywhere, and it's a really, really good product. You pay $100, you get a product you're going to be using for years. There are alternatives, of course. There are plenty of alternatives that get you out of the Amazon ecosystem and away from Amazon. There are also, as I'm sure you've seen on your feed, ways to jailbreak your Kindle so that you're not dependent on Amazon anymore, so that you're just... I shouldn't wave around the back side, should I? That's so ugly. I should wave around the front side. There are ways to jailbreak this device so that you're not vulnerable. You're not part of the Amazon ecosystem. You can load books on your own. But anyway, regardless of who makes your device, I wanted to sing the praises of these little devices because I've been living on mine. And this long stretch is not the only long stretch that I've had in the last 3 years. So I want to go through the points that are familiar by now. The screen is lit on its own, so you don't need any other source of light, and you can change the nature of the light, not only the brightness, but the warmth of it. But even without artificial lighting, even if the lighting is not on this thing, it's still incredibly soothing to the eyes to read. It seems a little dim here because this was originally a color cover. So that doesn't work well even in the color e-ink devices. It still feels washed out. The black and white one, it definitely does. But reading on the screen feels really, really comfortable. And you charge this thing. This is USB-C. This one is USB-C. I charge this thing. There are going to be stretches where I am going to need to consult print and paper books. No way around it. Or when I'm maybe taking little Frida on a long walk, if she ever decides to move, or we're on a long walk. I plug this thing in for those intervals. It charges all the way to 100%. And when it's at 100%, you unplug it, and you don't need to think about charging it again for a long, long time, even if you read as much as I do. You barely need to think about charging it. And when you are involved in it, when you're involved in the book, you can take notes. You can highlight easily. You can easily do that. When you have a print and paper book and you want to highlight a section, well, first of all, there's going to be your Irish Catholic Guild. You're going to think, I don't want to write in the book. Maybe I should find a notebook and keep that. But what if I lose the notebook? Or what if I get the page wrong? And it's such a chore to copy out passages. Maybe I just won't bother. I really like this. I'd like to remember it separate from the book, but maybe I just won't bother. In other words, your print and paper book defeats you. It tells you, go away. You're bothering me. Whereas, and that's to say nothing of highlighting or dog-earing pages. Oh my God, let's not get the purists all up in arms. But with these things, that's as easy as could be. You can highlight anything to your heart's content with your finger, the same finger that you're using to turn the pages. And once you've highlighted a thing, an options bar will pop up that says, well, is this just a highlight? Okay, fine, you're done. Or is it a highlight and do you want to add a note? Okay, well, if you want to add a note, just tap that and a box will pop up and you can add any note that you want. And when you're done with that, your highlight on the text will be highlighted, but if there's a note attached, it will show that. Like in a little classic footnote annotation in a printed book. It will show that there's a note attached. And if you want to note something on what you're reading, and maybe it's reminding you of something and you want to write the whole of that, what it's reminding you of you down, well, if you've got a little mass market paperback, you don't have the room to do that. And if anything happens to the paperback, your note is gone as well. Whereas here, you can make a note to your heart's content. You don't have any limit to how much you can write. And when you're done, you can send that note separate from the book to your email or to any number of free apps that collect such notes. So don't need to worry about that either. And in the more modern devices, the more modern Kindles and the more modern iPads, your notes will sync. If you're using, for instance, the Kindle app, your notes will sync from one device to the other. So if I make a note on a book, late at night with the bean sound asleep and the whole world quiet, and then 2 days later, 2 weeks later, I'm thinking, oh wait, what was bothering me about that passage? Maybe it's come time for me to review the book, and I'm thinking, what was bothering me about that? Oh, but it's on the e-reader, and the e-reader is by the bedside, and all I've got here is my iPad. Well, no, if I call up the book on the Kindle app on the iPad, my note will be there. Same thing I might add with that 2-week interval where I come around and think, I want to check to see what note I left on that book, but where is the book? I've read a lot of books between then and now, so where is that thing? I could have put it down anywhere. I go into one room. Oh God, look at all these books. Or go into another room. There are piles on every piece of furniture. Well, with this device, I can go into the device and call for the book. I can go into the device and ask for it. Just type it into the search bar. Type in a part of it into the search bar, and it will come up right away. So all those decades that I spent complaining to friends, saying, I wish I could walk into a book-filled room of mine and call out the name of the book and have it answer me so that I knew where it was, instead of all that time searching. Well, I get the equivalent of that here. I get that actual experience. I can call for the book and it will immediately answer. Also, all those hours that I spent standing at a bookcase with a print and paper book, the right print and paper book, paging through it to try to find the annotation. Oh, wait, did I annotate this version of the book, or did I annotate the other version of the same book that's in a different room? Oh, I better go there and stand at that bookcase and page through pages. No, it's totally not necessary. Not at all. It's not necessary. Of course, another element of this thing that videos that champion them often cite is one that I myself don't have a problem with. I don't really worry about it, which is that you can change the font size on your e-reading device. You can change the size of the letters to fit anything that you want, almost anything that you want. You can do it microtype if you want, but you can also do it a couple of individual letters on a page if you're that bad off. And it's easy to do, and then it's done. Some of you who maybe been to bookstores in decades past will remember the large print book section. So you had the whole of the bookstore, but then you had, when I worked at a bookstore, we typically had 2 or 3 shelves, maybe a whole bookcase, of large print books. Same book, only much bigger spine, much heavier, usually a higher price, with a slightly larger print or much larger print than the normal print run of the same book. And I used to talk with the customers who came in who wanted those books. Customers who had serious eye problems and still were diehard readers. And they wanted those large print books, and we used to talk about, I come in here every week and the selection hasn't changed, and it's not a selection that I like anyway. And we would go over to my information desk in the old days with the print books and print volumes, and we would search to see, all right, well, we're getting just a small fraction of the large print books that are out there. I can find you some stuff. We can, if you don't have the time to look through the catalog now, I'll look through the catalog tonight and make a shorter list of likely bets for you. And I did that with a whole bunch of customers, and we would try it, and it was complicated and time-consuming and expensive, and it doesn't matter now. The book is the book. Every element of the book is entirely within your control, except for the DRM stuff, of course, which is a whole other subject with ebooks, which is that most of them come with digital rights management software encoded into it so that you can't lend it to anybody. You certainly can't give it to anybody. You can't sell it to anybody. It's largely locked to you, and Amazon is in the forefront of the giant evil corporations that are trying to strengthen that, so that you don't really own the books that you buy from Amazon. If you go to their store and you buy a bestseller, let's say, it'll download instantly to your Kindle. Well, that is totally convenient. No more trekking out in the rain or the snow to a bookstore. No more hoping the bookstore has it. no more nothing like that. The wish fulfillment is instantaneous. If you're shopping online and you see a book that I really want that. I know that I do. Well, you can hit buy and it'll be on your Kindle in 30 seconds. That's a miracle. And no matter how evil any of these corporations are, that is the fulfillment of generations, centuries of book lover dreaming. No point in discarding that. But most of the time when you do that impulsive purchase, or even a non-impulsive purchase, a long thought purchase, you're not actually buying the book. You don't actually own it. You're paying the purchase price to lease it from Amazon. For most readers, 99% of readers, in most cases, 99% of cases, that's just fine. That's just fine. This is a simple way of it. It might frustrate you. It definitely frustrates me. But for most readers, that's no big deal. I'm going to read it. I might read it again. I'm not going to give it to anybody. I'm not going to sell it. So it's just on the device. So fine. I don't care. I don't care either way. Those are the people, we all know readers like that. Plenty of readers don't care about that sort of thing. I myself do. And right now it is still possible for you to sideload books onto your Blue Kindle, and plenty of other ebook readers they happily encourage you to sideload works. And if you sideload a file, if you send it to the dedicated email address that every Kindle has, well, then you're not buying it through Amazon, and so you're largely free of that. Now, Amazon knows that, and of course, being in a large evil corporation, they don't like it. So I easily foresee a day when you will not be able to sideload books onto a Kindle. You won't be able to sideload anything, which would mean for me that I would have to give up Kindles. I would have to give up the Amazon ecosystem. I certainly wouldn't give up e-reading. I certainly wouldn't do that. But if Amazon, I can easily foresee that by 2030, they will say, no, you buy our books from our stores, you read them on our devices, they don't ever go off our devices, and nothing that wasn't bought at our stores on our devices can be read on our device. I could easily see them doing that. If they do that, well, not only can I not sideload books that are given to me by other people, but I can't sideload those PDFs from publishers. So this ecosystem will be useless to me. Even though I do a lot of reading for Amazon's Kindle Unlimited, I don't do enough to justify it. So I would move elsewhere, but that's not true now. Right now, you can sideload a book and thereby sidestep DRM and whatnot. And all that you get in the face of those little wrinkles here and there is so incredible. This is illustrated by the fact of the last 10 books that I read, where this thing was just nearby. I didn't need to charge it. I didn't need to think about it. So I'm in an easily cased scenario. I am in the little book room. I am propped up on pillows as God intended. My little dog is sound asleep next to me. And Frida, I don't know if some of you have dogs or maybe even cats like this. But Frida doesn't just curl against me to sleep. She leans. Once she's comfortable, she leans. So it is not possible for me to get up without rearranging the whole world. Sometimes, if I so much as move, she will start to fall, literally roll backwards. So it's a big deal. It's, in a little way, it's a big deal to just be able to reach over and grab this thing. And when I grab it, well, I mentioned to a loyal audience of Ukrainian sex bots that I love James Tiptree's novel Up the Walls of the World. Then I realize after I've sang its praises that it's been a long time since I read it. What if I feel like reading it? Well, there it is. I don't need to go hunting for it. There it is, with the cover that I like. What if I feel like reading it, continuing on in my reading of cop and PI novels? Well, I'm, I think, 10 books into the Maigret novels. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. It's the same place. It's the same gesture. It's the same device. It's the same convenience. I'm not going to some other part of the place. I'm not shifting my dog, waking her up, making sure she's not going to roll off the bed, getting up, heaving my feet into Winnie the Pooh slippers, and then trying to find it. Because it's not just a question of disturbing my dog or your significant other and getting up. Then you have to find the thing. So you walk downstairs to the basement rumpus room, or you walk down the hall to the library and stand there thinking, exactly what I thought for decades. I wish I could call out and have the book answer me, but I don't. I can't do that, so I have to hunt for it. Maybe at 1 a.m. when the mood strikes you. Not with this thing. I don't. No, not with this thing. I'm reading along and I'm thinking, let's say I'm reading Anthony Burgess's gigantic great novel, Earthly Powers. And at one point, the halfway point of the book, I am strongly reminded, let's say, of a 20th century contemporary Pope. And there's a great biography of him that I know I have. Well, that is a whim. I could not have foreseen that when I was rereading Earthly Powers. Maybe it's a strong whim. Maybe it's strong enough to derail me. All right, you've read Earthly Powers a number of times, but now Earthly Powers will keep. I now want to sink my teeth into a biography of that Pope. Well, here it is. Here it is. That's a question where not only is that biography, God knows where in the rest of Hyde Cottage, but it might not even be here. Whereas it is here. Everything is here. Almost everything is here. Total ease, total convenient. Even if I, God forbid, wanted to put on pants and go out into the world. just take this with me. Has it been a month or 2 months so that it needs charging? No, it hasn't. It's fine. Is it glitzy? No. Is it going to attract the eye of a pickpocket? No. Is it tough? Yes. This doesn't have a case on it, but this backing is thick plastic, and this front is also pretty tough. Tougher than it looks. It's just a rock-solid device. Amazon's engineers designed it with a book in mind, with a print and paper book in mind. Let's make this as frictionless as possible in comparison with a print and paper book. With a print and paper book, if you've got a dust jacket off a hardcover, or if you've got a trade paperback or a mass market paperback, you're not really worried about destroying it if you take it in and out of a bag. So you shouldn't worry about that with this. Print and paper books have one advantage that these devices don't have. They could have it, but they don't, which is that those print and paper books don't require a power source. This shouldn't require a power source either. A photovoltaic film on the back of this that's absorbing energy from any ambient light would provide more than enough power to keep such a low-power device active forever. But no, instead Amazon has electricity with this Accord that you jab into it every month. But the Amazon engineers looked at those print and paper books and said, well, anything that those things can do, this thing has got to be able to do. The minute you run across a deficiency, a basic deficiency between the two that comes out in favor of print and paper books, people will abandon these things. And so they set to work largely eliminating those and building in benefits. I can make as many bookmarks as I want without having bookmarks around, without dog-earing pages. I can make as many notes as I want without needing to worry about how much margin space I have in a printed book. Should I come across a phrase or a word in situ that I don't understand and that context isn't revealing to me, I can just press on it. Just long press on it. The device will tell me what it means. Even sometimes tell me its derivation. A print and paper book will tell you no. I'm sorry, Hal. I can't do that. It will just tell you, get lost. Go to some other print and paper book, get your answer, and come back to me when you're done. The nature and brightness of the light here, I can change myself. It's part of this device. Whereas I mentioned that the print and paper books don't need a power source, but they also don't have a light source. If you don't have a light source, you can't use them. And on and on and on. I know you've heard all of these comparisons before. I just thought I would make them again because I'm in love with e-reading anyway. You all know that, but I'm in love with it even more when I looked up from snuggling with my little dog this morning and realized how long it's been since I actually read a print and paper book, which I know what some of you are thinking. You're thinking, well, you go to the Brattle and get print and paper books. You just spent a week with David Murphy getting print and paper books by the bushel. So what's going on there? And I agree. That is motivated by two things. One is just the fun of the hunt, which I can control. I can actually eliminate that. It's a dumb thing. The fun of the hunt is a dumb thing, especially when the books are taking control of your physical space in here. The other part of it is that there are a huge number of books that have never been made into electronic books that I know of. There's a huge gap there. It wouldn't be there if 10 years ago the industry that was embracing ebooks at the time had continued embracing them. Not only would they be better products, but there wouldn't be any gap anymore. Everything that had ever been printed would be in ebook form. That isn't true. There are a lot of books out there that are ebooks, far more than most people think. But there are a lot of books that aren't. I have found over time that a lot of times my choices at the Brattle and other used bookstores tend to be guided now by books that I don't think I'm going to find electronically. That's still not a good enough excuse. That's still not a good enough excuse. There are billions of titles that are electronic that could easily satisfy me, occupy me, and that I, let's be honest, would choose anyway. If I were buried, if I were under blankets and my bean were draped right on top of me, or my dog, or whatever dog was based right on top of me, and I was reading happily on this, and then I thought, I have a whim to read something else. I'm done with this book. Lou Archer has punched his last bad guy, and I'm done with that book, and now I'm trying to decide what to read next. And I have two choices. A random ebook from Kindle Unlimited or a publisher or just something that I was sent that I have on this thing, or that random print and paper book that I got from the Brattle 2 weeks ago that's sitting on the new arrivals used bookcase out in the other room. I know myself well enough to know that if I approach that moment, 9 times out of 10, I'm going to go for this just because it's right here. So I need to address those. I agree. This is not as hypocritical as it sounds. I'm certainly not after this last 10-book streak. So I just wanted to mention that. I wanted to bring it up and sing the praises of this little piece of plastic, or whatever your little piece of plastic is. I would love, of course, you all email me all the time. Anyway, you do me the honor of doing that. You're on my inbox all the time. But some of you might be new. You might not be familiar with doing that with a sexy influencer. So feel free in the comments of this video or in email to me to tell me your own Kindle stories or e-reader stories just in general. I'm sure I'm not the only one who feels this way. That this little thing has almost entirely taken over my reading because it is a better mousetrap. It is just a better way to read. Or do you not think so? I'd love to know. I know this is an old and much vexed subject, but I just love it. And I had to make a video about it when I had that realization today. Now, probably given my luck, given the kismet of the cosmos, the next 10 things that I read, I will have to read in print and paper format. That could easily be. But this will always be right to hand. Last week, at one point, I actually reached, and it wasn't there. I was all confused by having a guest, and it was actually in the other room, and I felt the panic of the moment. I felt, oh my God, where is it? Where's my little blue e-reader? So anyway, I'm going to wrap this up for now. That's all it was just a hymn of praise to this miracle technology that every scholar and reader for 500 years dreamed of and didn't have. And now I do. So I thought I'd praise it. But anyway, I'll wrap this up for now, but I'll be back. Thank you, BookTube.